What would you do if your own brother stabbed you in the back on the biggest day of your life? And what if the only witness to this betrayal was your future father-in-law, one of the most influential men in the city? Last Friday, at my engagement dinner, this nightmare became my reality. My brother threw a leather diary onto the table and said, "Before you give your daughter to this man, think 10 times. He is a fraud hiding his past." In just 1 second, my 5 years of love, my career, and my dignity shattered like a house of cards. But the story didn't end there. In fact, that was just the moment the real game began. My name is Ariyan, and I am 32 years old. My older brother, Saymon, and I grew up together. But our childhood wasn't like that of normal brothers. Our mother passed away when I was very young, and our father raised us all by himself. He was a simple, honest clerk in a small government office. Honesty was his only wealth. Saymon, however, was different from the very beginning. He was obsessed with getting rich quickly and finding shortcuts to success. And me? I was always the quiet, average kid sitting in the back. I took my time with things and was just ordinary at school. Saymon was always my father's favorite because he was charming, handsome, and knew exactly what to say to please people. Our relatives used to look at us and say, "Saymon is going to be a big judge or a barrister one day, and Ariyan will end up just like his father, working a dead-end desk job." I never felt angry about it. He was my older brother, and I was genuinely happy whenever he succeeded. After finishing university, Saymon joined the sales team of a massive real estate company. He was incredibly smooth with his words, so he started selling luxury apartments like hotcakes and making huge amounts of money in commissions. Within 2 years, he bought an expensive car and completely renovated our father's old house. My father was so proud that he would boast to everyone, "My eldest son, Saymon, is a real hero." Meanwhile, what was I doing? I had opened a tiny IT firm with 3 of my closest friends in a narrow, forgotten alley in Dhaka. We didn't even have an air conditioner. We worked on broken tables, and my life revolved around coding all night without any sleep. Neither my father nor Saymon ever took my work seriously. Since my mother died, I had made all my life decisions alone. Saymon would often mock me, saying, "Ariyan, are you going to spend your whole life typing on these broken computers? Come join my company. I'll get you a real job." I would just smile and reply, "No brother, I am happy in my own little kingdom." Then, Tanya came into my life. Tanya worked at a multinational bank. Her father, Mr. Aftab Ahmed, was a retired customs commissioner. He was a deeply strict, disciplined, and principled man. When Saymon found out about Tanya, he immediately came to me and said, "Ariyan, you don't know how to talk to important people. I am your older brother. Let me go and talk to Mr. Aftab on your behalf." I thought my brother was just trying to help me out. So, last Friday, we arranged a small family get-together and an engagement dinner at our house. Tanya arrived with her mother and father. In the living room, my father and Saymon were sitting with our guests, controlling the entire conversation. Saymon was non-stop bragging about how he had sold 3 luxury penthouses in Gulshan just last month, and how much the director of his company loved him. Tanya's father listened silently, his face expressionless. At one point, he turned to me and asked, "Ariyan, I've heard a lot about Saymon, but what about your IT firm? Saymon mentioned you just do some small-time freelance work from home?" Before I could even open my mouth to answer, Saymon chuckled and interrupted, "Uncle, he's just a bit lazy by nature. He sits in his room all day typing random code on his laptop and makes a tiny bit of pocket money. But don't worry, once Tanya joins our family, I will personally take responsibility for Ariyan's career." Tanya's face went pale. She knew how hard I worked day and night, but she couldn't say anything in front of my older brother. Right at that tense moment, the living room door swung open, and Rashid walked in. Rashid was my oldest employee and my childhood friend. He wasn't supposed to be there, and in his hands, he was holding a black leather diary and a thick file. Saymon immediately lost his temper when he saw him and shouted, "Rashid, what are you doing here right now? This is a private family event. Speak to Ariyan at the office tomorrow." Rashid looked at Saymon. There was no fear in his eyes, only a cold, deep disgust. He walked right past him, ignored his shouting, and placed the file and the diary directly in front of Tanya's father. Saymon screamed, "Ariyan, what on earth is going on? Didn't you teach your staff any manners?" Rashid replied in a calm, steady voice, "Mr. Aftab, you are sitting here thinking Ariyan is lazy, and you are treating Saymon like he is a superstar. Please, do yourself a favor and open this file and this diary." The entire room fell into a deathly silence. Tanya's father slowly opened the folder. Inside were internal audit reports and bank statements from Saymon's real estate company. Rashid began to explain, the back-end software and the entire payment gateway system for the apartments Saymon sold were actually built by Ariyan's company. But do you know what Saymon did? He took advantage of Ariyan's innocence. He forged Ariyan's signature and used a secret backdoor in the software to steal nearly 2 crore taka from the client's accounts and transfer it directly into his own personal bank account. Rashid paused, looking directly at Saymon, who was starting to sweat. And the worst part? He framed Ariyan for it. The real estate company was already preparing to file a massive lawsuit against Ariyan. But just this afternoon, I tracked the original source code and the IP address of Saymon's personal laptop. I found the undeniable proof of who the real thief is. He looked like a ghost. The color completely drained from Saymon's face. He began to stammer, "Uncle, this is all a lie. Ariyan is just jealous of my success, so he is setting me up." But Tanya's father was a retired customs officer. He had spent his entire career reading criminals. He glared at Saymon and barked, "Shut up, Saymon. I know the managing director of your company, Mr. Jaffer, very well. I am calling him right now." He put the call on speakerphone, and what Mr. Jaffer said next completely broke my father's heart. Mr. Jaffer confirmed everything. He stated clearly that Saymon had been suspended that very afternoon, and the police had already been notified. He also admitted that the company now realized Ariyan's firm was the actual victim of the fraud. Saymon collapsed onto the sofa, completely defeated. My father stared at him, tears streaming down his face. The son he had worshipped as a hero for so many years was nothing more than a thief who was willing to destroy his own brother's life just to save himself. Tanya walked over and held my hand tightly. Her father stood up, walked over to me, and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Ariyan, I am so sorry," he said softly. "I failed to recognize a true diamond. A man who bears such a massive loss in silence just to keep peace in his family is a man I can trust blindly with my daughter." That night, the engagement did happen, but it wasn't the future Saymon had planned. It was the beginning of a beautiful journey for Tanya and me. Out of respect for my father's tears, we didn't hand Saymon over to the police, but he packed his bags and left the house that very night. He never found the courage to show his face to us again. People always say that blood is thicker than water, but real life has taught me that sometimes, the people sharing your blood can be the most toxic enemies you will ever face. Saymon is no longer a part of my life, but I have my honesty, my hard work, and I have Tanya by my side. Tell me, do you have someone in your life who pretends to be your biggest supporter but is secretly waiting to stab you in the back? Keep your eyes open, because sometimes, the person writing the story of your downfall is sitting right next to you. Click on the next true story appearing on your screen right now, and don't forget to hit subscribe.